In 1347, a ship arrived carrying no survivors. What it did carry would kill more people than any war in human history. Kings could not stop it. Priests could not pray it away. The rich died screaming beside the poor. In 4 years, it didn't just take lives. It broke empires, ended feudalism, and rewrote the fate of the world. And it started with a single flea. Long before it had a name, the plague slept quietly in the soil of Central Asia. For centuries, it lived inside fleas and rodents, waiting for a single point of contact. Then, along the ancient Silk Road, trade brought distant worlds closer than ever before. Goods moved freely between empires, and unknowingly, so did the sickness hidden within them. The first symptom seemed small, a fever, a swelling. Nothing anyone thought to fear. By the 1340s, the disease had reached the walled trading city of Kaffa on the Black Sea. There, a Mongol army laid siege to the city, unaware they carried an invisible weapon. The plague tore through the attacking army faster than any battle ever could. In desperation, the dying were catapulted over the walls, turning disease into a weapon. Terrified traders fled the city by sea, carrying the plague with them, unaware and unstoppable. Their ships sailed west, toward the ports of Europe, carrying death disguised as cargo. What began in the dust of the steppe was now crossing an entire continent's threshold. In October 1347, 12 ships arrived at the port of Messina in Sicily. Most of the sailors aboard were already dead, and the rest were dying quickly. The authorities ordered the ships back to sea, but it was already far too late. The disease had already slipped ashore, hidden in cargo, rats, and unwashed clothing. From that single port, the plague began spreading across Europe with terrifying speed. Within weeks, Genoa, Venice, and Florence reported their first mysterious and violent deaths. Families watched loved ones fall ill suddenly, with no understanding of what was happening. Painful swellings appeared in the armpits and groin, dark and swollen, unlike anything known. Physicians searched ancient texts for answers, but nothing had prepared them for this horror. Cities began sealing their gates, desperately trying to keep the invisible enemy outside. But the plague did not need permission. It moved through roads, rivers, and trade routes. By 1348, it had reached France, sweeping through Marseille and moving swiftly northward. Paris, one of Europe's greatest cities, soon reported its first waves of the dead. By summer, the plague crossed the Channel and arrived on the shores of England. Weymouth became the first English town to feel the plague's merciless and sudden grip. In less than 2 years, the plague had consumed nearly the entire European continent. As the death toll rose, people turned to faith, believing only God could save them. Religious processions filled the streets, as entire communities begged for mercy and forgiveness. Some believed suffering itself might cleanse the sin they thought had caused this plague. Doctors wore strange-beaked masks stuffed with herbs, believing bad air itself spread disease. Markets that once thrived with noise and color fell into an unnatural, heavy silence. Even kings and nobles believed their wealth and walls might somehow keep them safe. Some monarchs fled their capitals entirely, retreating to distant estates far from the dying cities. Entire neighborhoods emptied overnight, as families barricaded themselves inside their own homes. For a brief moment, some believed money or status might grant them special protection. Some threw lavish parties, believing pleasure and denial could hold death itself at bay. False cures spread quickly, sold with confidence by those desperate to offer any hope. The church, too, profited briefly, selling forgiveness to those terrified of eternal damnation. For a moment, it seemed humanity's institutions might still hold back the darkness. But beneath the surface of prayers and parties, the plague was only growing stronger. As death multiplied, fear twisted into blame, and blame demanded someone to punish. Jewish communities across Europe were falsely blamed, accused of poisoning wells and rivers. Despite having no evidence, entire communities faced persecution, exile, and brutal violence. This cruelty added human tragedy atop a disaster that nature alone had already caused. No wall, no title, no fortune could ultimately separate the powerful from the dying. Even those closest to kings began falling, proving no throne was truly untouchable. Churches that once offered comfort became crowded shelters for the dying and the desperate. Even centers of learning fell silent, as scholars and teachers succumbed alongside their students. The pride of great cities crumbled as commerce, law, and order slowly broke apart. Those who could fled outward, believing the countryside might somehow offer them safety. Death carts became a nightly sight, as bodies were collected faster than they could be buried. Mass graves were dug outside city walls, unable to keep pace with the dying. Entire families were buried together, their names lost within the chaos of mass death. Some villages were wiped out entirely, leaving behind only silence and abandoned homes. Farms fell into ruin, as there was no one left alive to tend them. Trade collapsed entirely, as merchants, buyers, and entire markets simply ceased to exist. Some churches ran out of priests entirely, unable to perform last rites for the dying. By 1350, entire regions had lost more than half of their surviving population. Grief became a shared language, spoken silently by nearly every family across Europe. Kingdoms that once seemed eternal now stood weakened, hollowed out from within by loss. Yet within this devastation, something unexpected began quietly stirring among the surviving poor. With so many laborers gone, survivors suddenly held more power than ever before. For the first time, peasants would demand fairer wages, and lords were forced to listen. The rigid system that once bound peasants to their lords began quietly breaking apart. Out of unimaginable suffering, the foundations of an old world had begun to crack. The cost of this transformation was almost impossible to comprehend or fully calculate. By the mid-1350s, the worst of the outbreak finally began to slowly subside. Survivors emerged cautiously, uncertain the world that remained after such devastation. Communities slowly rebuilt, carrying forward the memory of those they had tragically lost. With fewer workers remaining, skilled labor suddenly became valuable in ways never seen before. New ideas began to emerge, as old systems of thinking were finally questioned openly. Some historians believe this tragedy quietly planted the seeds of the coming Renaissance. Life slowly returned, but Europe itself had been forever and irreversibly transformed by loss. Millions had died, yet from their loss, a new social order slowly took shape. Historians would later call it the deadliest pandemic ever recorded in human history. Even centuries later, scientists continue studying its origins to prevent future catastrophic outbreaks. It began with the smallest of creatures, yet it changed the entire course of history. The Black Death did not just take lives, it forever reshaped the world that followed.